Heyo, and welcome to the Noob's Guide to Phasmophobia. This is a super fun game. It's available early access on Steam for like 14 bucks, so definitely worth checking out. It's becoming one of my favorite co-op games ever. Unreal fun. It is only version 0.174, so again, early access. I'm very excited to see how this ends up. It is amazing. That said, the tutorial is awful. Like a lot of early access games, it doesn't tell you much, and it's not exactly intuitive in a lot of ways. So I'm setting this guide up to hopefully help you along, because it's worth getting over that hurdle of learning how to do it and actually playing the game, because it is amazingly fun. Now the main board looks like a lot of other games. There's just the play, training you have to go through. That is the tutorial, which again, you won't learn much. The item store, it is not microtransactions. Normally it would be, it is not. These are in-game items that you buy with money that you earn from your missions. It's that simple. We'll get to that later. Your options, and then just quitting the game. Now what you do on this board, you hit escape and it frees you and lets you walk around the room. But if you go over here and left click on it, that's how you interact. And so
looks like there are others out there in need of help.
Get interrupted by that guy, and as I point out, the create public, create private, very simple interface there. And you'll notice when I hit escape, it just stays right where I left off. So this acts as kind of like a separate screen that you just click on to make work. And that's how you run the lobby. Your buddies might be here hanging out with you, but other than that, there is not much to do. You can play basketball, which that is up to you. I'm horrible at that. But that shows you how to use items, which is going to be wonky. You want to practice with the basketball. The first thing to note is you press E to pick things up. Not click on them, E. And then different items work different ways. For instance, I'm holding the basketball. Right click does nothing, left click does nothing, F does nothing, which is use item technically. G to drop. That's what you do. So we'll get more into item usage later, but you'll quickly see why that can be the confusing part of the game. Now as for doors, you can practice that too. It's not just a click, it's click and drag. So you have to move these manually, and they are push versus pull and all of that. It seems simple enough, but you'll be amazed at how much tension it can add in the right stages. But this room, other than hanging out and getting ready for your next mission, there is just not much to do. So we're going to go over to the board, start a basic mission, and I'm going to show you some of the tricks to that. Okay, as you're starting a mission, you'll notice you have an equipment list. This is the basic equipment you're going to start with, period. If you want more, you have to go into add and manually add the equipment. Not a big deal, but you have to remember to do it every time. It resets to the basic equipment each time you go into a new level, and there is no load last, load out, or any button like that, which developers, you should really add that. But outside of that, it is a simple enough interface to add everything you want to take onto your mission. Then you just select your job and you go there. So we will go to Tanglewood Street, and I can show you what the van looks like.
Alright, we're here. Take a look at the equipment and prepare accordingly before starting the investigation. I've also written some notes on the whiteboard if you need them. Got the intel. Looks like this is going to be a tough one. We've had reports of violence, and it looks like they left in a hurry.
Okay, you notice I walked to the back of the truck and stayed quiet. Devin, who talks to you, I think on this nifty boombox, tells you information about the house that you're in. He only says it once, and it's really quiet. So walk over here and listen to that. As you can see, that's going to be a violent ghost, so this is going to be super fun. And over here we have a timer. Now that timer goes down depending on the difficulty level. But that's how long until the ghost can get you. It has two modes. One is just running around like it normally does, being a ghost. And one is called hunting mode. And when it hunts, that is when it can kill you. That's the only time it'll kill you, but it can. 5 minutes is how long we have guaranteed that it won't. So that's nice. Right under there is the computer that shows this is the video cameras that are set up. If you hit the keyboard, it turns night vision on and off. And if you hit the mouse, it changes which camera is active. At this place, there are none, but we brought one. So as long as we set that camera up, it will be used on this monitor. And we can flip back and forth. This board is your objectives. Number 1 is always discover the type of ghost. Now that doesn't pay a whole lot of money, but it does give you a lot of experience points, so it's a good thing. 2, 3, and 4 are going to be optional objectives that you can get that will give you more money. Oddly enough, they usually pay the same amount as the first objective each. So we can stop the ghost from hunting with a crucifix, we can see a ghost event and capture a photo of the ghost. Now if you get a photo, that's going to be the ghost event. So that's a 2 for 1. They did leave out a few things though, and we will go over that later. Now over here on the side, there is a map of the house. If you press this white button, you get the different levels. So this is a single-story house with a basement. As team members go in and out, they do highlight and move around on here. So if you're playing with more than one person, you can have somebody in the van watch for where you're at. It can be very, very handy. And down here is your sanity. As you can see, mine's very high right now, but I've not gone in the house. As you mess with the ghost, that goes down. The lower it goes, the more likely the ghost is going to get you. So you want to keep that high, and if it gets too very low, you might want to think about just taking a wild stab and leaving, or finding some sanity pills, or hope you have another team member that can take your place, because the ghost will most likely hunt and kill you over and over and over. And it's awful. So don't do that. This is the total activity. That is the current meter readout. That is actually moving left to right, but since it's 0, it's not looking like it's moving. That'll monitor how active the ghost is. Hunt mode is 10. Anything approaching 10 is getting dangerous. At 10, it's in hunt mode. And behind you is your equipment. This will be only the equipment you brought, so make sure if you have teammates that you add enough of each. See, I brought 2 UV cameras to show you. I added that, and so it's giving me 2. So if I had a teammate here, they could use one of those. But we only have 1 normal flashlight and 1 good flashlight. So somebody's getting the shaft on that. 1 book, 1 camera, things like that. So everybody's got to bring their own every time. So, just as a note. Now there are 2 keys that we have not gone over in the basic controls that they don't tell you about as well. One is the B key. B as in boy. That noise, that is the walkie-talkie. This is a situational sound game, so as you're talking to each other and moving further away, you get quieter and quieter, and eventually you can't hear each other. It actually happens pretty quick. The walkie-talkie, everybody hears just fine. So use the walkie-talkie by holding down the B key whenever you want to talk to anybody. Now, as a little bonus tip, if there's somebody in the van watching and the hunt goes off, The walkie-talkie no longer works. It is dead at level 10. So those people who are in the house and being hunted, they'll be on their own. However, when it drops to 0, it's a good time for the person in the van to radio in to tell them it's safe. A lot of times if you're hiding and you're being hunted, you don't know exactly when it's over. And you don't want to be hanging out in a closet for no reason. So having somebody in the van tell you, hey, you can come out, that helps things along a lot. The other key they don't tell you about is the J key. And that's your journal. So while they tell you, about the journal existing and you have to enter evidence, the tutorial will go over that before you get to this point. What they don't tell you is how important it is to know what type of activity you're dealing with versus what ghost is in the book. As you start getting initial evidence, a lot of times you can start narrowing down what type of ghost it is by just the behavior it's mentioning in the book. For example, let's say we went in and we found freezing temperatures right out of the gate. We saw our breath, it is super cold. If you start scrolling through ghost type, it's already filtered down to only the ones that have freezing temperatures. Now you can start going back and referencing, okay, well, say that smudging the room causes it not to wander for a long time. Let's say you use a smudge stick to try that and it stays put and kind of quiet for a long time. Well, now you know the other two things to concentrate to try to look for. Just making sure you're bringing in the right equipment and covering all of your bases. So the journal, super important. I wouldn't necessarily say memorize that, just remember things like, if you take a picture of it and it disappears, it's a phantom, because that's what phantoms do. You don't have to remember that specifically, just if you remember enough that one disappears when you take a picture, you can always look that up. Still, anyway, handy. And that about concludes the tour of the van. The only thing left to do is to hit this keypad right over there, and that will start the mission. I'm not going to do that right now as part 1. I'm going to say good night to you guys. Thanks for joining. And I'm going to put up part 2 just as quickly as I can so that we can cover some gameplay basics, see what it's like actually during the hunt. And I did bring some extra equipment along that I highly recommend buying with your first few dollars. And I'm going to show you how all of that works and why you want it. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for joining.